Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of Tome of Knowledge, where we open the tome and give you knowledge. That's pretty much it, I guess.
How it works.
I'm joined by a virtual specter and moves like Jagger from the GG and crew. And I hope you all are having a fantastic week so far this week. With that being said, does anyone have anything they want to say before we start? Because my brain just stopped working there for a second. So
Uh, kind of related, unrelated. I'm going to TwitchCon in Las Vegas this weekend, so if you wanna meet Azric in person, uh, let's hook up.
yeah,
I mean,
um,
hang out, meet up. Not that part. But
at least you didn't say anything about fluffing muscles or anything. So
yeah, I,
I think
I actually got some. I got a little bit.
You've been going to the gym somewhat.
not since me and Moob split for
No.
creative differences. No, I'm kidding. That's not why.
I miss our gym time.
I think Mac's going as well. Bun and I had planned to, but we're not going to be going, unfortunately. Things ain't working out for that. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm not going.
Yeah. I would have felt really bad if I convinced you to go and then me and Bun weren't going. So I'm glad that worked out.
I did my one big trip for the year, I think.
Yeah.
I guess just thanks for all your continued support, watching our Twitch streams live and watching our YouTube. I don't have any stats, but I'm sure you guys have been watching a lot, so thank you.
Our YouTube link is in the appropriate in the chat if you want to go check out our YouTube. I would love for you to. There's a lot of ways to support us via Twitch as well as YouTube. We have abilities to. It's not subscribe over there because subscribing is just hitting the sub button. It is what's the word I'm looking for?
Becoming a member.
Membership. We have YouTube membership now with special tiers of membership. We also have Patreon. So in the order of platforms that care about us from least to most, it is Twitch, YouTube, the Patreon. So choose to put your money wherever you'd like, or just watch us and listen to us. That helps too. Check out our podcast.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Like
Tell
classified
your enemies.
Who doesn't watch us, he watches someone else. So
tell your enemies if you want. No, I mean honestly, I think we have a good stream.
Yeah,
personally.
Bun, you need to personally DM Classy right now.
Bun, you said something. You said that you had something to say in the chat. What do you have to say for everyone, or what do you have to say for yourself? This is already taking a turn. But hey, you know what? This is podcast, and that's what they're for.
No,
so
exactly. But hey, what's up to Kaya? What's up, Zeus? Who else I saw on here? Two of my own channels.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, well, thank you, Bun. We love your face too.
Yes.
With that being said, I'm gonna keep saying that over and over. Is that like my default segue? I'm just gonna say segue from now on. Segue. Tonight's episode of Tome Knowledge is about evil campaigns. Evil. I will give my normal thing at the beginning with a twist. There's not a whole lot of guidance in the PHB or the Player's Handbook or the Dungeon Master's Guide about evil campaigns. So my normal shtick of go read the books isn't necessarily going to apply here, to be honest. I think Wizards.
I tried to look up some resources like a few minutes before we started, and not a single like official D&D thing did I come across. So
I think I'm the only person here on the board who's actually played an evil campaign. Two, in fact. I think more than two, but there's two that are probably the most memorable for me.
I've played in a campaign with an evil character, but I wasn't evil, so that makes it even more complicated.
Very head-butting conflict, a lot of conflict.
Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you have the right players. But jumping right into it, into evil campaigns, I would say, first off, you should be very particular on who you play an evil campaign with, because I would only want to play a campaign, an evil campaign, with people that I've played with before, understand how they play and how they role play, and understand like group dynamics. This is not a jump in there for my first campaign and be evil kind of thing. I would certainly not do that. It takes quite a bit of nuance to kind of get right. Which brings to the first point, which is Captain Erock has just mentioned in the chat too. What's up, Erock? Session 0 has to be huge for an evil campaign, I'd think. Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff that you need to talk about in your campaign 0. First of which is, what does it mean to be evil in your evil campaign? Because there's many different flavors and genres and spectrums, like, and if you want to go to, you know, alignment, like lawful evil is not like chaotic evil. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No. Yep. Very different.
So I think that's a big first one. Is session 0, have a big long talk with everybody and what it means, define what evil means, define like player expectations. Like, okay, everyone's interested in playing in an evil campaign, like what does that mean? Is it a chance to explore like darker themes in a campaign, or a chance to just be a villain, or just, you know, test boundaries to like normal traditional heroes? Like, are they wanting to be more like an anti-hero, or what?
Or just be straight murder hobos.
Yeah, which if that was the case, I wouldn't run that or play it.
Yeah. It's a session 0 is an important part of setting up your campaign, like the baseline, the setting. Like you said, what is evil in that campaign? What do you consider evil? And then also setting ground rules for like player conduct. How dark are you going to let it get? Is it not a dark campaign at all? Are you silly villains? Are you like, you know,
Yeah,
gotta kind of like set, especially for evil campaigns, set some pretty solid ground rules, I think.
Yeah,
Right at the beginning.
boundaries and expectations.
Yeah.
Because you could get dark real quick.
Yeah. And I think too, what you brought up are like the ground rules of like, are they silly villains? Is it serious? Which brings up another, like, that kind of goes along with expectations, but like party dynamics. Like, you know, is PvP allowed? Like, you're all a bunch of evil people. Is that allowed? Is like stealing from players allowed? You know, is betrayal, like, is that a thing that want to be explored, or is it you just want to have your party as a cohesive unit? Like, there's a lot of other stuff that kind of goes along with that. Once you break through the veil of like, okay, we're good heroes, a lot of other things start to kind of surface there. And I think party dynamics is definitely important. And I think one thing that becomes harder with an evil campaign is, why are you all working together? It's hard enough to get good players to want to work together. Why are a bunch of evil characters working together? I think you've really got to set sort of a theme early on of why these group of evil, you know, individuals want to come together and work towards a common cause. You know, is it a greater evil than them that they're trying to avoid from taking over the world? Is, you know, who knows, whatever your themes and campaigns are. But I think that's another important aspect too.
I agree. And Bun says Disney villains, which, a little aside, I've had an idea in my mind for like a fun evil campaign setting. Maybe not necessarily evil, but the idea of a group of villains who are from all different areas of the realm, who've all gotten their asses kicked by the same party of heroes at one point or another, find each other and devise a plot to find those adventurers, track them down, and cause mayhem on the way while they're doing it. I think would be so much fun. It's more not maybe not quite so dark evil campaign, but just a bunch of villains who maybe aren't that great of villains because they got their asses kicked, just traveling around causing trouble and looking for the big bad guys in their eyes, which are a party of heroes that kick their ass. I think that'd be fun.
That's a good idea, because I was thinking of immediately when you said that, of like the villains going around after the hero. You could even twist it to where, let's think of like superhero movies for a second, of how villains sort of surface and how villains sort of despise superheroes for like demolishing cities, to fight one bad guy. That'd be a cool concept, if they're getting a group of people that become villains because they think that the heroes are doing more harm than good, which that might make them an anti-hero, or I don't know, however you want to look at it, but that's an interesting premise too.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to do an evil campaign as like a one shot or a couple shot, but like a
Yeah.
whole campaign uh seems difficult to me because I guess just inherently people don't want to be bad. And then when people play Dungeons and Dragons or any other tabletop, they kind of play themselves a little bit for the most part.
Mhm.
So it's that internal struggle is hard because since I like playing paladins all the time, hard for me to be a bad guy.
Yeah. I do. I think that makes sense because I feel like, especially for maybe DMs, it's might be easier to come up with plot threads as the players go along, that they fight one battle to the next, and they fight minor villains on the way, culminating in some big bad encounter at the end. Like, those stories seem pretty common and maybe a lot easier to write than having to start with the party being evil, and it's like, okay, where do you go with that? Like, if this is going to be an extended campaign, what sort of story beats are you going to come up with if your party's the bad guys? And I feel like that
Mhm.
might be a little bit harder to write from, or to come up with plots for, or maybe not. I don't know.
No, I agree with you, and I agree with what Moobs is saying too. Is I think having like a defined goal for your evil party to achieve, and then once it's done, like have it being over, is the way to go. Because I would struggle, I think, as a DM, of trying to like keep up the interest of players in their group that want to play an evil campaign and have it be like an open-ended sandbox. Because
Yeah.
when that's the case, it becomes harder for, I think, the characters to want to stay together. Because you think of like, in comics or whatever, like, why do villains band together for some kind of common cause to defeat, like, the big bad superheroes or whatever, right? I think that makes sense. But having them just run around for whatever, I don't know, unless you do like some kind of weird, like they're all like henchmen or whatever for someone. But
Yeah. Or they're just like part of a roving band of bandits, and they want to travel the world pillaging everything they see, or I don't know.
yeah, but in that case, yeah, how interesting does that become? Which
Yeah.
could be something where it starts as evil, but like you could have like, is our possibility for like redemption arcs for these group of bandits. Starting them off evil, doing that sort of thing, and then some event happens which causes them to want to do the right thing. I would also argue that's not really an evil campaign. It's just a campaign, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I know Bun talks about oops all warlocks, but I can see like an oops all barbarians,
yeah.
and everybody's just like a raider, and it's like a real short campaign, couple
I
sessions, and
I
Oops, all
really want
bandits.
to do Oops All Bards to make a traveling troupe. That's my
that'd be
dream.
cool.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Everyone's playing a different instrument. I don't know how well they'll go, but
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing that's interesting to consider is if like you're playing like an evil game, right?
Mhm.
How how does the world treat those characters, right? What are the consequences to their actions? Because typically, like good players, like the consequences are, if they do bad things, then they go to jail. They deal with the guards or whatever. I don't know if an evil character would really care about that too much, depending, I guess, on how strong they are. But I'm curious as if people know that this group is evil, like how do the populace treat them? I'm thinking like movie Tombstone, right? When the bad gang comes in, everyone shutters the windows and stuff. Like is that how they would treat an evil group of adventurers.
That sort of leads me to wonder how do you go about building a character with the intent of them being a part of like an evil campaign? Because there's not, I know in terms of like background and stuff, D&D gives you, there's like pirate, which gives you like you can break some laws and people don't care because they're scared of you. But outside of that, I don't know. I mean, there's the criminal one, which gives you connections in the underworld. There's not like too much, I don't think,
Yeah.
within D&D itself to build up uh, an
Well,
evil character
I
from
think
what they provide.
yeah, and I think backgrounds are pretty weak in fifth edition anyway.
Yeah.
So it just gives
True.
mainly it's like tools and languages, and you have like a special thing that you can use like once every 5 or 6 sessions if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But there's different ways you could do it, and I know that Zeus mentioned in his chat is he had sort of a monster squad where everyone plays a version of a monster, kind of custom stat blocks, and then that's how they
Okay.
did the evil campaign. But if you're playing like just making a character, it's really just all in like your backstory and your motivations more than anything. And like, yeah, the DMG had like Death Cleric and like Oathbreaker Paladin, which those you could definitely do those, but they're not inherently related to evil campaign other than I guess Oathbreaker. Oathbreaker really is, because it's not just breaking your oath, it's breaking your oath for evil purposes.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Or like being a blackguard, like
Yeah.
opposite of a paladin. I guess I can talk about my experience as a
Yeah.
player playing in evil campaigns. Um, think we so it was like a 3-year campaign, and each year was its own chapter. So we had like one arc, second arc, third arc, and
3 years.
yeah,
It's a lot of evil.
this is when I was a younger moobs in college, not really having a job, and me and my friends had all the time in the world. So we would have epic all nighters and stuff. But the first part of the arc campaign was like your classic high fantasy good campaign. Of course, I was a paladin. And then, the second arc is when I made a half dragon, which is different from a dragonborn. Dragonborns didn't exist in third edition.
Hmm.
Um, and then I made a black half dragon blackguard who betrayed his pledge to Tiamat because she did something that he didn't agree with, and then so he couldn't level up paladin anymore, or blackguard rather. I leveled up as a barbarian. Uh, and in that excuse me instance, I was the only evil character. Um, and my other friend was like this blood magus thing, where he eventually became the main villain in the third arc in year three. Uh, so it was interesting playing an evil character in a group of non-evil players, but it was more like I had a thing against Tiamat and wanted to do everything to stop her because the whole thing was she was trying to do something. Um, so I guess in that case, it was easier to roleplay as an evil character because um, he was lawful, but then became chaotic because third edition rules barbarians have to be non-lawful, and so that forced me to be chaotic.
Third edition.
Yeah, this crazy wonky stuff.
Hmm.
But I didn't really role play. It was more like an anti-hero than a villain.
Hmm.
Um, but and the third arc, my DM came to me and he's like, "Hey, are you cool with relinquishing your character for the third arc? And you would make a new character, but then your half dragon would essentially become like one of the main villains for the party." So I was like, "Cool."
You're like, hell yeah, here you go. Take
That
it.
And
sounds
then,
really
yeah,
cool,
and
actually.
then he teamed up with my other friend's blood magus, who essentially became a demi god who was trying to destroy the world. Um, so I guess that was pretty easy. I think we tried an attempt to do a full evil campaign, and we weren't really like the whole party didn't wasn't sure how to role play evil characters. I was like, do we just burn and pillage villages? Do we just like kill people because we feel like it? Because if someone was chaotic evil, are they that psychotic? Like at what degree?
Mhm.
Um, I think what we found like was a good balance was playing monster races, who are considered evil. So it's like adventurers trying to take us down, or we're just trying to expand our domain. And I think in that instance, it was more fun for us. Yeah, and Luna, he knows what I'm talking about. He's my DM.
Yeah.
He's the mastermind for all that. Um, and he created a world where this island, separated from like the rest of the humanoids, was basically Monster Island, where all the monster races hang out. And there was like a humans there and there, but so we weren't inherently evil. We were just monster races that perceived as evil. Um, I think the one time we did an evil campaign where we were like, yeah, let's be bad guys. I think we struggled uh trying to be bad guys. Like we didn't
Mhm.
want to do bad guy things. So it's kind of like maybe a lawful evil campaign where we still had like a code. We hear by the law, but we do it evilly, like corporations.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's interesting when you talk about being an evil character with a group of non-evil characters. I think that can work as long as you sort of play that balance, like on that knife's edge of why am I working with this group of good characters? It's got to be towards some kind of common goal, right? Which is, I think, the only way you can really keep a campaign glued together, or like a multi-shot with a whole bunch of evil characters. Yeah, I would be welcome to hear of anyone's experience that had like a full-on evil campaign where everyone's evil, and like how long did that last, and like what did it look like? Because in my DM brain, I'm really struggling of how that sort of game can keep up enough steam for people to want to play it for a long time.
Well, it's kind of interesting because in our current campaign, if you haven't checked it out already, campaign 2, Casters and Cantrips, Fridays,
There you go.
watch
What
on.
time is it?
Uh, it's 9 p.m. Eastern and
6 p.m.
6
Pacific.
p.m. Pacific. There you go. Time zones. Um, so without getting into like what we're doing right now, it's essentially we've we're teetering on a line of like we're pirates. We haven't
Mhm.
done anything really evil yet, but we are like we there's the potential to like cross a line either way. We're still kind of not necessarily the good guys right now, but we haven't done anything bad enough to be considered evil. I don't think any of our alignments are fall under evil at all. So, but given what our occupation is right now, there's there's a potential that we could scoot a certain direction depending on how our stories go.
Yeah, and I think that comes a lot into play of like the world building, because I think in this particular case, without giving away, I don't want to give away campaign spoilers here, but there's a lot more like in the gray of this campaign setting than y'all are just bad guys because you're pirates. There's reasons why people
Yeah,
do that and stuff like that. Um,
that is true. There's for some of the people, yeah, there's a reason, but
Yeah. I'm like, hey, you could be like, one piece here. Could be there's good pirates and there's bad pirates. There's good Marines and there's bad
true.
Marines.
You could
I
fight the
I
establishment
I
as
just don't think
pirates.
our group has figured
no.
any of that out though.
No.
Not even close, especially with the group dynamic. I think if
Yeah.
we lean towards being bad guys, people may be rolling new characters.
Maybe.
I don't see it happening. Like I said, none of our characters are lean that way, really. We're all just a bunch of misfits right now. So,
Mhm.
There's some backstory stuff
oh,
that was very not very good. It's
okay.
definitely self-serving, teetering evil.
Hmm.
There's been
um,
a lot of hints in it in campaign 2.
yeah, but I think that I don't. There's. I mean, being evil isn't like a line in the sand. I don't think of
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
like
it's very very gray.
It's a lot of gray morality in this. Zeus says that he played in an evil campaign where you were bad guys working against the DM's other group of normal players. Had a very Thundercats vibe where each quest we did, the heroes would show up and deal with the aftermath and sometimes foil us. That's interesting. So 2 separate groups, and hopefully at the end they meet and it's a big, combat between the
Battle
different
Royale.
sides. Yeah, big battle royale. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that
Or you
seems
keep
pretty
them
fun.
separate, and then they could have different endings that depending on the outcome.
Yeah.
I think if you did a very campy evil campaign, it could work because it's silly, wacky,
Yeah.
and your rivals is a party of good adventurers, and you're like, ho, take that, heroes.
Or maybe it's like Adventure of the Week type of thing, right?
Mhm.
Where you as a group of villains have a goal that you're trying to accomplish. However, the new town you go to, because this town has a certain power source that you need for your one part of your goal. There's a famous adventurer party that just happens to be in that town. Well, now you got to face off with them. Next time, it could
Mhm.
be some big shot detective from the kingdom is hot on your trail, and you gotta spend the session trying to outfox him and stay ahead of him. And I could see it being kind of fun like that too.
Sounds like VS needs to run an evil campaign.
Yeah, he's got a thing for bats.
Yeah, that's awesome though. Um, yeah, I like that idea. Like Adventure of the Week, that would work for sure. Or like what you said earlier about like really like bad villains, not like as in like bad to the bone, but like they're bad at being villains, like they're inept. That would, like what you were saying, VS, that'd be fun too. Of
Yeah,
like lesser villains banding together and just basically being screw ups.
where they're like they think they're doing oh, we're doing evil stuff, but it's like stealing a broom from a shopkeeper and
Yeah.
Like,
imagine a party full of I don't know, a mix of like goblins and other fun like small creatures that are just a band of misfits, silly things running around.
like they're
Mhm.
trying to steal from a traveling merchant, and all of a sudden they end up fixing his wheel and then like let him on his way.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Although when you were talking about moves, your campaign where you played monster
Mhm.
characters, I what immediately popped in my head was like Shrek, right? Where
Yeah,
as you're playing, you're not actually like evil, but if you venture to anywhere where there's not used to like creatures like that, you're instantly like marked as like the bad guy. And how do you deal with that? How do you respond to that? And like who do you have to fight against? Is it the town guard? Is it some hero? Do they put a bounty on your head so you have to be on the run? Like
yeah, it's tough because I believe we had a bugbear, a lizardman, and a minotaur, and I forget what the other race was. I think it was a tabaxi, but tabaxis are not they're unaligned. They could be whatever.
mhm.
But yeah, if you're a human settlement or humanoid settlement and you see a band of monsters as a group of adventurers, I think you'd be pretty freaked out. Like, oh, this group of monsters who are decked out with weapons and armors are coming up to our town. So, like, how does the town react to a band of monstrous humanoids just maybe trying to sell stuff or be helpful or not?
Yeah.
Just thinking now of just like a party of Shreks just kind of just marching down the street. It's a big meme campaign.
Yeah, again, it'd be very hard to have that be like an extended thing, but
Yeah.
definitely for like a 2, 3 session, maybe. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think it could work out. I don't know about a very long campaign, but I'm sure plenty of people have made it work.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. That could be possible. So what do you think? What do you all think are like pros and cons of like? Is it a good idea to run an evil campaign or an evil multi-shot or whatever? What's the good and the bad? The good, bad, and the ugly.
I don't.
Uh,
The only thing that I could think of that is bad is, yeah, if you don't have that session 0 and you don't set boundaries and expectations and guidelines, it can go south very fast, especially like you said earlier, Max, if you would only play with a group of people that you know and are friends with.
Mm-hmm.
Like I imagine if you just had a random group, like whether it's like
No.
online or you
no,
go to
no, no.
a shop, I it could go south very fast.
I
Uh,
I've played with some of those players that they're just like, no, why?
but like if it's your casual group and everyone agrees to give it a shot, then I don't see any cons at all. Really, it's just like a different experience to play D&D.
yeah, I think I'm with moves on that one. I don't. The cons come from exactly that. You don't get that session 0, and you're not familiar with who you're going to be playing with. Then I'd say definitely a no go. But as far as positives, I mean, it could be just think of all the stuff we've come up with tonight. There's a number of potentially really fun stories that you can play out. You can get a little taste of what maybe a darker side of D&D could be. Again, determined by your session 0, but it- you know, ev- for the most part, I think unless it's like a really short campaign or short stint, I just think it might be a little difficult to for a DM to extend something like that. So I think maybe just for something short and leave it at that
Yeah,
potentially.
I think for me, so like some of the like the pros I'm thinking of things that we've been talking about are just like trying something new. Like it's always fun with like your group wanting to try something different. Um, different ways to approach problems, as a character in the world. Um, really changes the way how the story might be told. But I think for me, like the cons, thinking from the DM hat, like it would be really hard to like keep the campaign going unless it was like a specific, like here's the beginning, here's the end, one shot, multi shot. I don't, and I would, as a GM, I'd probably lose interest probably pretty quickly of just like running an evil, an evil campaign, trying to keep things going. Um, I think too, I almost feel like that when you decide that we're running an evil campaign, that kind of shoehorns you into having like it's a certain connotation of like an expectation of what choices characters might want to make, right? Because if you think of like what we're doing now, like we're playing a campaign, there's plenty of morally gray and ambiguity in there. But when you say we're evil campaign and evil characters, I don't know. I feel like that might put you in a bit of a box, to be honest.
Yeah. I'm
I think one thing that can work as a long campaign is like you guys you're bad guys working for a big bad villain,
Mm-hmm.
and you're essentially doing tasks. Like your goal is to reincarnate an ancient god or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then you end up reincarnating that ancient god or whatever, and then you're like, oh, this is bad. So like the bad guys essentially become good guys, but they're only
Yeah.
doing the good thing because it's gonna ruin what they want to accomplish. So I think in that sense it could work.
Yeah, that's one of the things where you maybe it's like you said, the bigger evil is like that gives the people motivation to still work together. So that's a good idea, I think. But you've got to have like a large grand goal. With that, you might miss some of like the in between, like the downtime, like some of like the smaller like side quests. I mean, I guess you could do it, but I don't know. I don't know if it's for me. To be honest, morally gray is fine, but like I'm evil. I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's I I can see where you're coming from with that because it does feel like it could be a bit of a box. Like, but then again, I did see Bun earlier in the chat say something about, well, you know, the evil person generally or usually doesn't see themselves as the evil person, right? So maybe, yeah, you set out to run an evil campaign, but maybe none of the characters think they're doing evil the entire time somehow. I don't know what the goal would be as a group or what their missions would be as they go along, but I can see it where maybe it's a some sort of twist on the DM towards the end of the campaign, like, oh, you've been going on all these ventures and doing these quests. Well, the person that you've been working for turns out to be like the big bad, and you've been doing his bidding the entire time. You know?
Been duped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see some stuff in the chat. Village is saying it could be just that you tend to choose bad choices over good, looking more out for yourself. Kind of breaking that down, I think that in my mind, like, just looking out for yourself isn't enough for evil. It's got to be looking out for yourself at like the detriment of like other people. I look out for myself all the time because nobody else will. Am I evil? No, I'm just kidding. I know.
Yeah, there's
Maybe
there's
I am. I'm
different
very
levels.
selfish.
There's
Good idea for
varying
evil
levels of
campaign.
evil.
Everybody's a billionaire.
Oh shit.
Damn.
That campaign is called Numbers Go Up, and you just watch your stocks increase and have other people do stuff for you.
Yeah, there's varying degrees of evil, like a heist mission. You're all trying to steal stuff to get richer,
Yes.
like being self-serving, screwing over your friends to gain more power. That
Yeah,
kind
that
of
feels pretty evil. I like
Yeah,
the idea of what Zeus was saying is a Thieves Guild campaign is an evil campaign generally. I like that idea of doing a Thieves Guild campaign because everyone has a common goal. They're part of a Thieves Guild. You know, maybe you have some Robin Hood type scenarios where you're stealing from the rich, but then I guess you wouldn't be giving it to the poor, you're just keeping it. So it's not really
Yeah.
Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Not quite, but
paying your thief guild's dues.
yeah, I don't
yeah,
know.
would you
That'd be
demand
interesting.
protection or something? Like, is there a bit of like organized crime level
Rival
of
gangs,
extortion,
rival thieves,
Yeah.
all that
gangs?
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would definitely work. I could see that. Probably not like a super long campaign, but like a good chunk.
Yeah. A lot of good ideas in chat with like Thieves Guild, like the Mafia, like a Mafia style movie, like being part of like a criminal syndicate, which I guess is a Thieves Guild, but a little more. Wolf of Wall Street, the D&D campaign.
Yeah, I like E-Rock's idea. Like the billionaire campaign, the goal is to be rich enough to get your own space rocket.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying. Sorry. Love that movie. Yeah, here's an idea for an evil campaign. Door-to-door salespeople, and they're scamming people out of their money. There you go. There's another one.
So let me bring this up because, like, we know within D&D, you can always homebrew your own realm, like we're doing, or like you've done with us. But out of the stuff that is available from official D&D sources, would you have an easier time running an evil campaign within something like Spelljammer, where there's like space and aliens and a number of I don't know too much about Spelljammer, but I know it's D&D in space.
There's not. That's about all there is to go off of in 5th edition. So you're not missing
Okay.
much. But anyway, I digress.
I just wonder if you extend it out to like, yeah, maybe the characters are like technically evil space pirates, but there could be any number of like extraterrestrial bigger evils that might be helpful in extending a campaign, maybe different stories on different planets. I don't know.
Potentially. But I think too, I like to think that for the most part, if you get down to like the bones of your story, that you could really put it in, wherever you would want, whatever setting, whether it be sci-fi or like post-apocalyptic or like fantasy. Because I think most stories have the same story beats to them. It's just It's just that kind of extra sprinkles put on top of it where they use the setting. Because, you know, in your example, instead of different planets, just different continents, you're not going to play long enough to cover every square inch of a planet anyway. But it's, I mean, it's a good way to think outside the box too, of changing it up and getting different ideas on what potential threats and stuff can be.
Villages.
It was brought up
Interplanet.
in chat too. Like, definitely, there's other settings, different games that can help
Yeah.
facilitate doing evil campaigns. Like, I saw in chat, like Vampires, the Masquerade, of course. You're freaking vampires, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Shadowrun, where corporations basically run the world, and you're
Yeah.
doing jobs for corporations where corporations are trying to fuck over the other corporations. So, I think in like especially in like Shadowrun or Mask Vampires, it's pretty easy to kind of blur the lines and a lot of gray morality stuff.
Yeah, agreed. Are corporations screwing over other corporations really evil though? That's a good question. I'm just
If
kidding.
it's to the detriment of everyone else,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
say
that's
yes.
the detriment of the working class and the people who don't live in skyscrapers.
If it's like Cyberpunk and they're starting wars in the streets, then yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Yep. Summer or Shadowrun is pretty fun. Let's play a
I
little bit
love
of that.
Shadowrun. It's really good. 'Cause it's a mix of fantasy and cyberpunk. Like, amazing.
Yeah,
Sounds fun to me.
a lot of great ideas, especially from the chat. Maybe I just haven't wrapped my brain around evil in a campaign too much because I'm seeing a ton of good ideas that I haven't thought of. I feel like you really have to be in that mindset though to think of those things, which I'm clearly not.
Yeah, because on surface, when you just think evil campaign, you think, okay, same old fantasy scenario, and the party's just like a-holes, basically. And but there can be way more to it than that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of good suggestions in the chat right now.
And next CNC one shot, let's do it. Evil time. I don't know.
I kind of
Like-
like the idea of a one shot of bumbling, like incompetent bad guys.
Well, we do have a one shot coming up in a few weeks that we haven't talked about yet.
We do. We could talk about it now.
Yeah, we're on November 17th. Check me on
November
the dates.
17th. Yep.
Normal time, we're gonna do Extra Life with Obsidian.
That's right.
So we do have a one shot coming up. I don't know if I'm the right DM to do an evil one shot though. That maybe you have to put that weight on someone else's shoulders.
Yeah, I don't know if raising money for kids is the right
Is a
time
good
to do an
place for
evil
that? No,
campaign.
I'm not writing an evil campaign for that. Don't worry about it. It's about stealing lunch money. You know?
Yeah.
No, we're
Yeah,
not doing that.
Like bully the game.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. But yeah, I think that would be something fun to explore. I would like to do some more in-betweens of like some multi-shots to kind of explore the stuff that we don't want to do a full campaign out of. But yeah, that'd be interesting. But anyway, it's gonna be the same time when we normally play on November 17th. More info to come. But we'll be doing the Extra Life over there. Fun times. I need to get to writing. That's what I need to do.
What level are we gonna be?
I'm not telling you now because I have to. I need to let me cook, man. Let me cook.
All right, apologies.
Yeah. let me think of these things. Also, I have known that the earlier I tell people to get characters ready, the later they are. If I give you a month in advance, it'll be done the day before. If I give you like a week in advance, it's done like in a couple days. I don't know why that is.
Pressure, time crunch.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, if you have any other like great ideas for evil campaigns, or if you have any evil campaign experiences, either running or playing in them, I'd love to hear about them because that's not something that I'm very well versed in. Obviously, I'm always here to learn more, expand my DM mind.
Yeah, chat it up in the Discord, discord.gg/casters cantrips. Let us know in the comments below. All that good stuff. Tweet at us.
Oh, let me find the Discord button. There it is. There it is. I got it. Don't worry. But anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got to say about evil campaigns, unless you all had any closing thoughts or arguments.
No, I think it was a good discussion. I think we covered a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Long story short, just don't do it. I'm kidding. Just don't. No. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching and hanging out with us. Our regularly scheduled programming schedule: Monday nights, Tome Knowledge, 6 p.m. Pacific. Tuesday nights, Art with Bun, 7 p.m. Pacific. We've got our Out of Combats on Thursdays that drop at 6 p.m. only podcast and YouTube format. And then our live show Fridays at 6 p.m. And if you're not watching it, I question you. Why? Give us a shot. I think you'll like it. I've worked really hard this time, guys.
Yeah. Really
I'm doing
good.
a good job, I promise. Anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and we will see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Peace.